Hey everybody, welcome back to True Life Scary Tales. And these are all my own personal experiences. If you didn't catch part 1 or part 2 yet, please make sure you do. This one is for part 3. The haunted hotel is one of my favorite experiences, so make sure you listen. Thanks. Hello, welcome back to Local Love. I'm Amanda, and we're in part 3 of True Life Scary Tales. We call this one The Haunted Hotel. Okay, so basically this starts with the fact that I'm here in Orlando, and I had a boyfriend, Jeff, still do actually, that lives in Tampa, Florida. And he would come into town. We used to stay out in like Altamont area, and we'd get a hotel or what have you. And then when I started working at home, he decided to get a hotel closer to my home. So we ended up in the, we'll just say the UCF area. I'm not going to tell you the name of the hotel. That wouldn't be fair to them. But basically, we've been at that hotel for about 2 years now. I would say maybe more. Probably within that first year is when this started to happen. Now, I went downstairs one night to take a break because it was cold in our room, for one, and for two, I was sitting down in the smoking area in the back of this hotel. Now, it was about 12:30 a.m. on a Wednesday night, and I just decided to step out, and he stayed in the room. So normally I go over to the pool area, which at night is a little more lit up, but I opted for the closer spot, which was the smoking area where like the employees go and that type of thing, which I can see the pool area from. So it's still not, it's darker, but it's not too far from where the light is. So I sat out there, and just to give you a visual, when you come out the door, it's a door with a little awning and a light, and there's a stuccoed wall with, at the time, there were 4 just basic like poolside chair type things up against the wall. So I sat in the closest one to the door, and I'm about halfway through with my cigarette, and all of a sudden, without any warning, the very last chair, the 4th one down, slides out about a good foot. Just slide. Well, it startled me a little bit, of course, but I decided not to panic. And I just said a little prayer in my head and kept on doing what I was doing. And at the end, before I decided to go back inside, I decided that I would just say, you can stay here as long as you like, but I just request that you please not follow me back to my room. And that was it for my first experience with this happening. And I was like, very, very odd. But I go upstairs, I tell my boyfriend the whole thing, and he's like, oh, wow, weird. So I had already looked, by the way, when that happened, I looked, there was no water on the ground. It wasn't in front of any kind of air vent. It's 12:30 a.m. There's nobody around. I didn't see any cats or anything running through that made it move. I could not explain how this chair had moved. So let's flash forward 2 weeks into the future from that, when he comes back to town. So we had stayed up all night on our first night of the visit, and we were up, it was like 3 something in the morning, and we'd been watching movies, and I was like, I'm just going to step out for a quick smoke. So I stepped downstairs again, and I wasn't really thinking about it, honestly. I don't know how I could not be thinking about it, but apparently it wasn't on my brain. I sat down in the same area, same chair, everything looked the same. And I'm, doing the same thing, sitting there. I'm about halfway through. Now this time, that last chair slid out twice as far. Slide. Okay. I jumped. I was like, okay, all right, you got me that time. You got me. Okay. And I just continued on with what I was doing. I didn't get up and run away. Nothing like that. I didn't feel anything menacing about it. It was just kind of like, hey, I'm here. And I was like, okay, I did the same idea. I looked, there's no water, there's no fence, there's no animals. I couldn't figure out any reason why it would have moved, much less moved out twice as far as it did the last time. Okay, very weird. So yeah, to say the least, that put me on guard. But at the end of it, I was like, I know this is your area, and I hear you, I'm here, and thank you for visiting with me. I request that you please do not follow me back to my room. And then I got up and I left at the end of my break there. So I'm freaking out a little bit inside, and I go back upstairs and I alert to my boyfriend. I was like, guess what? You are now my new smoking buddy. I'm not going back out there at night by myself again, period. End of story. He's like, no problem. I was like, good, because I'm not doing it. So at any rate, that was it for that particular visit because, we had other things to do the next day and what have you. So at any rate, the next visit when he comes to town was about another 2 weeks later. He suddenly kicks into I'm a ghost hunter mode. Now, I love my boyfriend with all my heart. Not sold on the idea that he's a ghost hunter. I've done a little ghost hunting myself, and so, he was like, well, we're going to go downstairs. Okay, great. He's like, let me get ready. And I was like, all right. So we get ready and we go downstairs and I get ready to take my break. This time I'm like, let's just go to the pool area. It's a little more lit up. I don't have to sit here and stare at shadows and be worried or anything. It's a little more wide open. I can see everything. He's like, okay. And this was probably like 12 at night, something like that, somewhere in that range, somewhere in that hour. And we're down there. As we're going out the door from the pool, it's a little different. You still have an awning over a little light, and then there's like a gate where you have to push out the gate to get into that area. And we just sat, at the far end of the pool, furthest away from that smoking area, I might add, because I wanted to be able to see it from where I was. And basically, when we got out there, as we're coming out the gate, I look and I see that he has his phone out and he's got some sort of weird app up. And I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, I have a ghost hunter's app, a ghost hunter's app. I want to see if it works and, see if maybe something wants to communicate. And I'm like, can we not? Can we not engage, please? Can we just not? And he's like, but I want to see if it works. So I finally gave in and said, fine, but I'm not participating, okay? I'm not participating. I will sit over there. You can ask all the questions you want. I will be quiet. I will do my thing. And I'll just observe. And he's like, okay. So we sat over there. He sets up his little app, which I looked at it, and the picture on it is basically like a bar graph. The little graph goes up and down, and it's in green the further away you are supposedly from energy, and gets more yellow or red as it gets closer to something with energy gets closer to it. That's how it's supposed to work, I guess. But on top of that, it's also like a spirit box. So it would kick out a word every now and then. It would kind of just suddenly go, Michael, capital, very robotic, a little, creepy in that respect. But it was like every couple minutes a word would just pop out. I was like, okay. So we're sitting there and it's like, nothing's happening. 40 minutes, we're sitting there. He's asking questions. He's got this thing laying next to it's like on the pool deck on the ground in front of him. And it's just like nothing is happening. Well, I'm getting bored at this point. So I was like, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to ask a question. So I ask, are you the one that moved the chair for me? This phone went nuts. It went crazy. it red lines and it, you know, the little icon that it was about to say something was spinning. And so before it could answer that, he goes, "Are you the one that moved the chair for my girlfriend?" And it went, "Bring her." Followed by a very concerned Jeff picking up the phone, putting it in his pocket, and going, "We're going back upstairs." Worst ghost hunter ever. But yeah, no, I was concerned about that. But you know, it's a robotic voice, so I tried not to think too much about it. And I told him, I said, "Well, don't panic. It hasn't offered to hurt me. It hasn't touched me or done anything to me. Maybe it just wants to talk to me, you know." And that's how it says it. I don't know. But at any rate, we didn't stick around to find out. He was very upset. So we're like, okay, that's probably enough for tonight. And yeah, so basically at that point, we went back up to our room and just kind of, you know, talked about it. He was completely freaked out by it, and so was I, of course. But at any rate, that was the most upsetting, concerning part of that whole experience. Nothing happened to me. Nothing physically touched me. I didn't see anything. Nothing was moved when Jeff was down there with me. Was it the last experience we had at the hotel? Well, stay tuned for part 3, and I'll give you a little bit more of some of the things that we deal with every time we go. Peace. Thanks for listening.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with all your friends.
And hit that bell so you know when we have a new video.
Hello, Amanda. It's time to play a game.